Let's all see how this goes. Hopefully this is capturing audio and stuff. Yeah, so today I'm going to be going over how to use particles in Unity. So I'm going to start with just a scene, and you can add particles by going to, where is it, Effects, and then Particle System, and then that'll just create a basic particle system which has the particles. Particle system is really useful because it essentially generates lots of these particles that you can sort of control how they move, what they look like, what they do. So I had a list of things. Yes. So first, I thought I'd try and make some sort of like firefly-like effect. So firstly, right now they're moving up. So we sort of need to not do that. But that should be so we've got speed here, max particles, and start speed here, and lifetime delay. So why are they moving upwards? This is something I probably should have looked into beforehand. Okay, so let's just speed to 1. That's a better effect. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so in the shape, then it's sort of set as a cone right now. So that means right now it's sort of set to go upwards towards that cone, and it'll just keep going that direction. So if we want to go it like every direction, then what we can do is we can change it to one of the other ones. So box, rectangle. In fact, if we make it a rectangle, but could we make it a big rectangle? So if we like make this by 4, 10, 15, and then by Y, we can make that also like 10. Nope, okay. Z will be 10. That doesn't like that either. Okay, I'm not sure why this isn't. Make this into a square. Oh, there we go, yeah. So if we make it into a box shape, then that will appear just anywhere in that box. And right now the velocity is just sort of like saying just to go up. So if you want to change that as well, then there should be a way to change the initial velocity. Randomize direction, here we go. So if you just set this to 1, then we'll then have these sort of floating around everywhere, which is somewhat the effect which we want. So that now looks like there could be fireflies, but we would need to like change the colour as well. So if we change it to start colour, and we can just make this orange, and then we can get the nice light orange colour that we want. So in the game, then this would look like this essentially. One strange thing about it though is they seem to be just popping in and out of existence, which is not great. So we're going to do 2 things to fix that. Firstly, we want them to last longer, and secondly, we want them to just sort of fade in and out rather than just appearing suddenly. So for the first one, then we can go to this lifetime setting, which is essentially how long it will live for. So we can just set that to like 20, and then they'll continue to go around for a lot longer. For the second one, what's the second one? I wanted them to fade in and out of existence, so In terms of fading, then we could sort of do this in two ways. We could sort of fade the colour, or we could fade the size. I'm just going to fade the colour, I think, this time, but either one will work. So if you click on here, then this allows you to open a gradient editor, and you can set a gradient for what it will look like throughout the lifetime. So what you would be able to do is, on the top, then we have alpha, so that's essentially how transparent it is, and we can set different of these to represent different values. So firstly we'll have one of these, and we're going to set alpha to 0. The second one's going to be an alpha of full, so 255. So that means right at the start it'll be completely invisible, but then over a short time it'll become visible again. And then at the end, then we have alpha. We want to make this 0 again, and then put another key point here to make it full. So that should then fade out at the end. So now, if you take a look at the game, then you can see our fireflies are fading out of existence and then fading back in to create this nice effect. So yeah, any questions about that one? Cool. Okay, in that case, I'm going to go to different scene. By different scene, I mean making a different scene. In fact, actually, let's just make the particle system disabled. Okay. So now we're going to make a second particle system. So this time, plan to do some falling leaves. So I've created a falling leaf texture, which is this one. Actually, in retrospect, should I send these textures in like the Discord or something? Cool. So I will get these two. Unity, particles, assets. So one of them was from the game jam I did recently-ish, and the other one I just made. Game design, and where would be a good place to put this? Resources.
You know, we're putting resources or teaching sessions for boys because.
Sorry?
You know, we're putting resources or teaching sessions.
Teaching set. There's a. Oh, I didn't realise there was a thing.
Yeah, I added that a while ago.
Oh wow. Okay. Nice. There we go.
Also
That would be much more applicable. There we go. So if you want to follow along, then you could open them, download them, and just add them to your project. So what we're going to do now is, because we want falling leaves, then again we want a slightly different shape than the beginning one. So we'll start by going down to shape again. Instead of a cone this time we want a edge. And that's just making things appear and disappear along that edge. If I make this bigger, will it? Okay. Never mind, maybe edge is not the right one. Rectangle. Actually, if I do edge, then surely I should just be able to change the speed. Or unless I might just move it on. Okay. Rectangle again. Just bigger again. Except this time we also want to move the entire thing up a bit. So not X way, Y way. And then we'll also want to change rotation by 90 degrees. Nope, not 90 degrees. one of these should, there we go. If we do that like this, then we should now have these falling from the sky. Kind of like snow, actually. So now, if we want to put a texture on the particles, what we can do is we can go down to the render section, and then we should have material which we can set. Oh, okay, I might need to make materials for these textures first. So if we go to create material, leaf, we'll need to set shader to be a particle. Nope, okay. Mobile, particles. I think it's additive. And then we can just drag the texture in. That should now be something that we can just drag across to the renderer. Let's see if we just get this. This is the material, this is the texture. And drag this over here, then you can now see that there are leaves falling from the sky now. This is also not quite right yet. Oh, wait. Apologies. They're all sort of, well, firstly, they're moving a little bit too fast compared to what you expect. They're all moving together, which could happen, but normally, like, you'd have them moving at slightly different speeds. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. So again, we can sort of start taking a look at some of the settings to sort of improve some of these things. So to begin with, we want to have a more random rotation. So to do that, set normal rotation there, set a random rotation, sorry?
Is it looking for a random rotation?
Yeah.
Isn't it like a little drop down near the top?
Near the top?
Is it like the drop down on rotation? You got the like start rotation, there's a little drop down.
Yes, that makes sense actually. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, so random between two constants. And then we could say just, oh wait, 0 and 360. And now we have completely random. Thank you. We might as well randomise everything else as well. So we have the start speed, and then we can put that between 2 and 2 and 5. I think works. This looks quite a bit nicer now. Might want to randomise the size slightly as well. So for that one, just use slightly different values. Another thing we can do is, like, you've got these constants and random between two constants, but you've also got this curve, and this is a bit more weird, but that allows you to define like a probability curve of what it will be. So if you're like, okay, we might want some really small leaves or some really big leaves, we don't want many, then what we could do is we could just sort of have curve which does this, and then we want another point in the middle, which then move up. And then we can make this sort of, well, I guess actually, get rid of these we don't want. We can make this kind of normal curve-like thing. Initial lifetime of particle based on the speed. This is the size. I think this should, theoretically, start size. Yeah, so I might be wrong, but I think this just sort of should just make mostly start size of 1 particles, but also some that are too small. I'm not entirely sure what this bottom bar is. It says controls the initial lifetime of each particle based on the speed of the emitter when the particle is formed. In fact, actually, this is just going from 0 to 1 to 0 again, so if you want to make that go higher, then you could make this 2, put this down in the middle, and then put this up at the top. And you can use these to sort of adjust the direction it goes. So this one down. Do something like this. And now we have our leaves. So, any questions about this one? Nope. Okay. In that case, I'll disable this one as well. And start the next one. So, okay, and this one is going to be leaf tornado. So this one, what I'm vaguely going to try and do is create something that just sort of goes around in circles rather than just going up or down or somewhere. So we can do this using this velocity over lifetime thing. So essentially we have this orbital velocity section. So velocity over lifetime just means that it will sort of affect what the velocity is as time goes by. So this orbital velocity will just sort of change the velocity depending on where it is relative to the centre of the system. So here it's right in the middle, so they'll sort of get a direction this way, then when they're here they'll get a direction this way, and they'll just cause them to go around circles. So we can see that if we just do this. Problem here is that they're starting to get directions back towards the system, but they've already got velocity sort of going outwards. So what we vaguely want to do is, well, if we start with the smaller speed, and we should be able to wait, why is this going up and down? Shouldn't it be? Oh, okay, yeah. I was just going over the wrong axis. So this one's the correct axis, so it's coming out and it's getting a velocity back towards it, and it just goes in circles until eventually it vanishes. So kind of what we might want to do here is start with a low velocity and then just sort of increase it over time. So if we start with a velocity of 0, then we can add a point here that increases the velocity. Wait, is this for? Oh, this is for Z. Yeah. So the weird thing about this is it opens up all of them as curves. So you don't need to select specifically Y is the one we're editing. And there'll be like colours depending on which ones are enabled. So this one's green and the other two are blank. So that means we're editing the Y now, which is the correct one. So we can add a thing here and move that up. And then we also want to move this up so that it will keep at the same velocity. And then if we move that along, that'll change. What do we have a low velocity for? We might want the optimal velocity to be a bit lower though. So we could... or do we want it to be higher? There we go. This one's high enough, then we can get it going in this sort of circle. And if we change the shape of the mission, we also might want to change it to a sphere, which just means that it won't just come out from the top, it will come out from all directions. So let's speed a little bit down. Quite a lot of settings you need to toggle to get this right, but I guess it depends on how fast it starts off. So if we just start it really slowly, then I think it might need a lower amount to keep going in circles. There you go. So if we just change the starting velocity to lower, then it's going around circles like this, then we can go a lot slower. But if we want tornado, then we want it to be going quite fast. And then we also want the start speed to be a bit higher. There we go. So now we can also add relief material in. We can vary the rotation like we did last time. Just put between 0 and 360 again. Make them a little bit smaller. So the size is going to be down here. Wait, no, that's not size. It's something else. Start size, here we go. And then this one we might also want to have a lot more particles, so right now we've only got a few. So there should be, in a mission, you can say how many there's going to be every, I think it's number per second that appears. So there'll be 50 here because every second makes 100, and then it lasts for 5 seconds. So we should be able to increase it just by making more per second. Just a warning that with particle engines, then you can very quickly use up a lot of Unity resources. You can make your game lag a lot very quickly just because it creates so many particles for it to handle. But then here you go. You have, well, it doesn't quite have an eye, but you have all of these leaves sort of continuously going in a circle. Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to show off was fire. So I'll just create one more particle system, and for this one I've got a different particle which we're going to need to make into another, what's it called, material, and we'll just get mobile particles again, and just copy it over, and we'll add that to the renderer. Then I'll be using this. One thing we will need to do to textures first, because it's what's it called, pixel art. Then we'll need to put in point no filter, just so that it will keep the pixel art as it is. You could easily make this not pixel art. And essentially what we want to do here is, well, firstly we'll just move it down a bit. So Y position, let's put it here. Now fire sort of changes colour depending on how hot it is and where it is in the fire. So like very close it's sort of yellowish. When at the edges then it gets more red. So it sort of gets darker as it goes out. And then there's also normally smoke coming out of it as well. So we'll start, as with most things, you'll find, like, if you're doing anything with particles, then sort of there are a bunch of like main properties which you'll be able to change to anything using these options. So rotation, size, colour, velocity, you can change over lifetime, you can change over speed, and you can normally randomise it when it first starts as well. So in this case, then what we can do is we're going to change the colour over the lifetime. And then this will give us a familiar menu where we can just start by making it very light. So we'll just pick a light yellow. And then make it a bit darker. So go into orange. Make it even darker. And make it start to get red. Darker red. And so we can make this actually the same vaguely dark red. And then what we'll also do then is we'll sort of keep it solid up until here. Then after this, then we'll start fading out down to invisible. So if we've got this, then now it will still start as white at the start for some reason. Doesn't need to be. Is this the wrong material? I thought it was this one, but... Oh, no. Okay. So, do multiply. Ah, there we go. Okay, that's my one. Okay. So it turns out the white shader is mobile particles alpha blended, not the one which I said before. So now we get the Baker colours we expected. It's also going for a bit further than we would expect it to, so we want to sort of keep that down a bit. So we'll just change the speed to be a bit lower. And now we get a much nicer fire. And we can sort of mix speed and duration and the amount as well to sort of change this. So it sort of feels like a very light fire, like, because it's just sort of moving so slowly. But if we want to move faster, then all we need to do is we need to increase the emission, so we make a lot more particles, but also make the duration smaller. Why is that not? Oh no, not duration, lifetime. So do 1.5 and you can get much more theory fire. Let's make that a little bit more as well. Let's change to 50. And then just to make lifetime down to 1.7. And you can see it's a lot more violent fire now. It's just sort of burning and disappearing. The other thing which we would then potentially want to do is consider smoke. So if we want to add smoke, we could just make another particle system on top of that. Call it smoke. And we could do a similar thing for this. So let's just move in the same material. We want this to sort of be actually colour. We might want to also do the same thing as what we did with the last one. So colour over lifetime. We'll set this as being constantly this sort of dark grey. Potentially make it lighter over time actually. Let's just check in the scene. So this should be starting from the same place. I'm not entirely sure why we can't see anything yet. Maybe. Okay, we might not be able to put them on top of each other. Now we've got the minor problem that the smoke is on top of the fire, which is bad. So what we could do about that is we just go down to the renderer, then we can just move it back in the sorting layer. So sort mode, that's for within its own ones, sorting layer, ordering layer, -1. There we go, that's fine. When we're choosing the colour, we might also want to consider the alpha. So initially we don't actually want it to be visible, but then after it's left the fire, then we want it to be visible. So we'll make it just appear as it leaves the fire essentially. And then we can make this 0. We can move this along. And then we also want it to fade out at the end, so here it will be going down to 0. We also might want to make smoke is a lot more clunky and heavy, so we want to make this bigger as well. And we can change the size to be more like this. Might want to make that random just to make it a bit more varied. So we can make it between like 1.5 and 2.5. Might want to have it going a little bit slower. And potentially make the whole thing a little bit smaller. So now if we did that together, there we'd have this fire with the smoke sort of coming off of it. Now one other thing you can do is you can see like when you started the game, then it would just sort of like took a bit of time for it to actually start, and like, you couldn't see the smoke. What if you want to just sort of have it there? There's also a checkbox for this called pre-warp. When you check this, let's do it on both of them, then you'll see that it solves that issue. And essentially what this does is it renders the first few particles off the screen, so by the time it actually shows you the image, then it will sort of be as if it's been continuously doing it for a while. So yeah, I think, one other thing you might want, or might be interesting, is down here in emission you've also got this bursts. So essentially what you can do is you can add extra bursts of fire occasionally. So instead of just doing it continuously, then you can say we want to release 30. So you can see right now what's happening is every 1 second or 1 cycle, then you're just getting this extra wave of fire. Now, realistically, we probably want it to not be quite as packed as that, so I would sort of could do that by making the interval a bit bigger. Let's say 1. At least it should. And if we also theoretically we should be able to. Okay. Oh, interval is half when you do it. Okay. Why is it doing it? Okay, I have no idea why this is doing it like this. It should theoretically be waiting 10 seconds before it does another one. But it is not.
You sure? Is it nanoseconds?
Sorry?
Is it nanoseconds?
That would potentially explain a lot. It says every n seconds, but it seems to be just continuously going every 1 second, whatever I do. And if I make it 300, then I suppose that'll. Unless that's just because I'm in. Okay, yeah, I have no idea why that is done. I don't need to make 2 of them, do I? Oh, okay. I'm not sure about that. I'll need to look into that more, but hopefully this is somewhat useful, at least, the rest of it. Yeah, any more just general questions about the particles?
Do 3D particles.
3D particles, ooh. I've never tried that, but I would be interested to find out. Like, a lot of these settings do have just like Z values, so Z like you've got 3D start size. So I don't know if like I somehow move into 3D. Then
Can you do gravity with particles?
gravity. Oh yeah, I was going to mention gravity actually, and I didn't, and I can't remember why. But there's like a gravity modifier here, so you can just sort of change that. And then that'll just affect how much gravity affects it. So we give it like a high start speed of like 10. You can see it just sort of falling down. Because
Can you do particle collision with physics objects?
you can. There's this collision thing here. If I just sort of like change the start speed to be like -10, change gravity to be 0, we move the whole thing up a bit, back into 2D mode, and then if we add a 2D object like a square, put it down here and make it collidable using a rigid body. And a collider. And theoretically it should collide. Oh, nope, it will fall from the sky.
Your box has gravity.
Box has gravity, yeah, that would be bad. Let's just make this static. It's a collider, yeah, that's sensible. That's completely ignoring that for some reason. So if we go to collision,
Okay, it works with 3D. Oh, so it works with 3D collisions. It may be because it doesn't work with 2D collisions.
oh yeah, that might make sense.
So make a cube and it should work.
A cube, cool. Yeah, actually, if I go into like, yeah, they're just on different planes. That's wouldn't help. Just back, yeah. So if we make a cube, there might be a way to get 2D working, but this does seem more sensible. Okay. So we'll go back to 2D. This here. That's got a box collider. We need a rigid body.
You should need a rigid body.
Do not need a rigid body. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've not done much to 3D stuff before. Let's just get like the, what's it called, scale thing. Just scale this bunch this way. And theoretically, it will ignore that too. Cool.
I don't know.
This is definitely possible.
Change types. It says planes now, right?
Planes, yeah. This is planes or world.
There we go.
Oh wait, no, that does work. Oh my god, okay. There we go. I'm not sure why it's slightly upward.
Is it a thing of bouncing? Are they all...
Yeah, it's like bouncing. There's like a small gap between the cube
That's
and.
because it's a square based around your sprite.
Oh,
You, you need to. Yeah, I don't know. It's because your sprite collision box is too big. You see that? If you
oh, like edit Collide.
well, no, of this sprite, not of the box.
Oh, display.
If you look at the square around the thing,
Huh?
that's colliding as it should.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so I guess we need a smaller collider. I don't know, is there a way to change the colliders to be... Well, there's a 2D collider mode actually, so that might have worked with the thing, but...
I think that what's going to happen is it's always going to be like that because the particle collision needs to be easy to do because there's loads of them, so it needs to be fast.
True.
So you're not going to be able to do a sprite collider like you would with regular 2D.
Yeah. Ooh, actually, there's a radius scale. Scale up by... If I go back into 2D... I've not done particle collisions before this.
Because what you can now do is now you can use code to detect when a collision has happened with the particle.
Yes.
So I did that once and it was really garbage.
Yeah, I guess it's like depends on what you want to happen. Actually, I guess, yeah. If you did some sort of effect every time a particle collided or something. But yeah.
Yes, it's on particle collision, I think.
Okay, I've never used it before.
Okay, this may be wrong. I can remember. It was a while ago. Yes, on particle collision.
Okay, is that something you can attach to the cube?
Yes.
And then it will just detect when any particle hits it?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
However, it's weird because wait, no, you attach it to the particle system and you get a callback with the game object it hit and the index of the particle that collided with the object.
Oh, okay. But I'm assuming there's a way inside the particle system to just loop with the array of particles.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
No, it sounds... Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So we were doing the, what's it called? Collision with this, which was working, but I wanted to start it again.
That is so fancy.
Oh, I kind of want to see if I can make a lightsaber.
Reflections as well. Wait, is that dynamic reflections or something?
I feel like that should be possible.
That's really cool. Wait, so you've got animations of particles? That's so good. That's crazy.
trying to get the 2D version of something.
I'm trying to make a lightsaber.
Oh, okay.
There you go. If you ever wanted to make a lightsaber, you could do it with particles. Yeah, that's about everything I want to show off. So, yes. Hopefully that was more really interesting. You make a good point. I completely forgot that I was recording this.
That's absolutely bad.